As Season of the Lost comes to an end, and Season of the Risen, alongside the Witch Queen, is about to begin, it's that time where we look back at the season and talk about the good, the bad, and what could be improved going forward. When it comes to discussing this season, I will not be factoring in the length as much as other seasons because of the unexpected delay. This led to a 3-month extension, but we did get a mid-season refresh with the 30th anniversary event. First, let's talk story. The story for the season was strong, as over the first few weeks we were getting acquainted with Savathun, and we get an insight into the decisions she has made over the course of the last year. At least that's what she tells us. Whether we are meant to believe her or not, well, that's kind of her whole thing of being the worm god of cunning. As the weeks progress, she also shows Crow all of his past memories as Uldren, which we presume include killing Cade. This leads Crow to leaving to Venus to see if he is still himself, and then joins Kydal. That's all we know for now with Crow, but I would not be surprised if the story arc progressed into Season 16 and beyond. And then left us with a 4-month drought, until we got the last story beat for the season, being the exorcism of Savathun's worm in the end of season event, leading us right into the Witch Queen. The story for the season wasn't only told in a week-to-week dialogue, but also through exotic quest weapons for Agar Scepter. I think this was quite a unique way to tell the backstory of Crow and his sister Mara without cluttering the seasonal story too much. As someone who has not paid attention to a single story in Destiny, other than maybe one here and there, this season really sparked my interest, which is quite rare in any game. I usually skip the story completely and just want to get to the good stuff. Speaking of good stuff, let's talk about the seasonal activities. This season, this was Astral Alignment, a menagerie light where you spawn into the Dreaming City where the Blind Well activity was, clear a few waves of ads, and then you get teleported to one of 3 possible islands. These included one where you had to carry batteries up a hill, but you would gain encumbered stacks while holding the ball, eventually dropping it, meaning another player had to be ready to pick it up. The second consisted of the public event on the Tangled Shore, where you had to shoot ether balls out of the sky before they reached their destination, while also clearing ads. And finally, there was an area where you had to take out captains, which drops the Eye of Riven-esque ball, which you had to pick up and move to one of the other 8 plates. You had to complete 2 random ones each run to progress to one of the 2 final bosses, rotating weekly. Either every odd week of the season, where you had to take an ogre boss, which started off as a quick boss melt, while the boss was shooting taken balls at you, then an immune phase, and you had to go kill a taken blight to get an Eye of Riven to take down his shield. This was a substantially quicker boss than the Scorn one, but still quite as fun, as long as no one ignored the taken blights. Then in all the even weeks of the season, you had to fight a Scorn boss. This boss would be DPSable for a short period of time, and then would duplicate multiple copies of himself around the room. You had to find the correct one, and then continue damaging, then repeat this until you killed the boss. On normal mode, there was 2 chests, one free, and one that cost 100 parallax trajectory. And the rewards for legend mode were higher stat roll armor, and an extra chest, with no mechanical changes. Overall, this activity was quite fun for the first 20-ish times you ran it, and then got repetitive and stale. You can put this to the lack of meaningful loot in this activity, since anything you could obtain here could be obtained through the umbrals and a slightly more parallax trajectory than the chest. The second seasonal activity for the season was the Shattered Realm. This was a 1 to 3 player, non-match made zone on a 3-week cycle that focused on saving the Techians of Marisov. You had to align 2 beacons and then kill some sort of boss. This was a way more enjoyable activity, since not only could you speed through and just do it for the seasonal quest, you could also go back and look for collectibles, which gave you rewards. So I guess it's time to talk about the weapons this season then. The season pass exotic this time around was the Lawrence Driver, a very fun linear fusion that haunts PvP to this day. It's the first season pass weapon in a while that I used outside of getting the catalyst done. The ability to suck in a bunch of ads together for an explosion was a really cool idea, even if it means being a tiny bit too strong in PvP. The other exotic weapon introduced was Agar Scepter Stasis Trace Rifle. This weapon, let me tell you, it's good. It was viable in GMs, especially the Hollowed Lair and Corrupted Boss rooms, because of the sheer amount of ads spawning everywhere. Paired with Mantle of Battle Harmony and Stasis, you just always had it powered up. And yes, I realize that it's getting nerfed next season to where it doesn't give you super regen, but I still feel it's going to be a really potent weapon going forward. Now, exotic armor. This time around, this was no backup plans for Titans, Radiance dance machines for Hunters, and nothing manacles for Warlock. These exotics were kind of underwhelming to say the least. Maybe other than the fact that Radiant dance machines were busted for a week or so, giving unlimited super, but nothing too special. So now onto the seasonal weapons. These were also kind of forgettable, apart from maybe Vulpecula with Headstone until Ice Luna got introduced, or the Wolf Tone Draw Bow. The fusion, well, there's better. Same with the auto rifle, same with the grenade launcher. Basically what I'm trying to say is there was no notable weapons this season compared to the last two. In Nightfalls, the two weapons added this season were the Hothead rocket launcher and the Comedian shotgun. Now, one of these two is good, and no, it's not the shotgun. At least not in PvE. For the sole reason that shotguns in general just aren't good in endgame PvE content. And the main reason the rocket is good is because of the combo with Gallarhorn. The Reese Regret Stasis fusion rifle was also added to Trials this season. And yes, it's a good linear in PvE. No, I do not have a good one since I don't really play Trials, so I'm not going to talk about it too much. Now, onto the 30th anniversary event. This was a very needed mid-season refresh. This brought back some of the fan favorite weapons from Destiny 1, as well as some classics from Bungie's other games, like Halo and Marathon. The 6-layer matchmade activity introduced was, and still is, a lot of fun. Maybe beside the drop rate of a certain sword. Yes, I'm currently 186 runs in and haven't seen it. But that doesn't take away from the experience, since it's fun killing a mass amount of enemies while getting some sweet loot. I don't think a single weapon from this activity is bad. Some notable weapons you have is the Arc Sword, with arguably one of the most fun perks to launch around Agar's Edge. Retrace Path, the first legendary trace rifle, and the BXR battle rifle. And of course the Forerunner exotic sidearm that uses special ammo, similar to Ariana's Vow hand cannon from Season 8. Next up we have the dungeon. That's pirate themed and inside the loot cave, with Ice Luna, 1000 yard stare, and some other stuff, as well as a Thorn themed armor set which looks dope. And I mean, how could we not talk about Gallarhorn? A very strong, but not broken like its D1 predecessor, exotic rocket launcher. Bungie changed how the weapon functions to a certain extent by changing Pack Hunter trait to also give Wolfpack rounds to players using legendary rockets. And I'm sure by now you've seen, it does nutty DPS. One more thing I want to touch on in the 30th anniversary event that I would like to see Bungie do more in the future is the idea of getting cosmetic rewards through playing the game. In Xur's hideout, there's multiple chests that by ranking up with Xur, you get to unlock an ornament set for your class, as well as a ship, Sparrow, Ghost. This was the first time in a while where a cosmetic armor set was unlockable in-game. Now, in the final week of the season, we also got to play the Exorcism final story mission, that leads us directly into the events of the Witch Queen. This mission, I enjoyed it. It was something new that wasn't just a cutscene, but a nice one-time playthrough. Or if you're unlucky, then multiple runs, and then a cutscene, and the conclusion that Savathun did in fact escape. But also held her side of the deal, and gave us Osiris back. We will see where this brings us forward in The Witch Queen and Season of the Risen, as Bungie has stated that Season 16 will be a direct continuation of the story. And I believe that's everything we need to talk about in the Season of the Lost. This was a relatively good season. I enjoyed playing through 90% of the content. The 3-month delay did put a sour taste in people's mouths, but if it means a better experience when servers come back up, then we just gotta accept the fact that these things happen. Overall, I would like to see if Bungie can continue making future seasons just as good, if not better, than what Chosen, Splicer and Laws brought to the table. I'll see you all in a couple of days for my first impressions on Witch Queen, weapon crafting, and a lot more.